Samantha, and welcome back to the Harp Studio. Today I'm going to be talking about some harp habits you might be doing that are totally derailing your progress, and it is time to leave them behind as we move into the new year. The first one is probably the most important and the thing that is affecting your practice the most, and that is practicing on autopilot. It is so easy to just sit down at the harp and start playing without really even thinking about what you're doing. It's this habit of just kind of going through the motions. And don't get me wrong, some inefficient practice is better than no practice at all. But the foundation of all good practice is awareness, observation, and making choices. And you can't do any of those things when you're just running through the motions on autopilot. When you sit down at the harp and you just start playing without any kind of plan, you're just starting at the beginning and playing through your pieces, there's no opportunity, no moment to pause and ask yourself questions like, what do I want to accomplish today? What should I be focusing on? What needs the most work right now? How does my technique look? Is there anything I want to improve? It's pausing to ask these kinds of questions, notice your frame of mind, make observations about how and what you're playing, and make choices about your practice that actually allow you to learn and make change. And that's really what practice is all about. The next thing I want to talk about is really important to me because it's crucial for preventing injury and just letting you sit down and actually play your best. And most people don't know about this at all. It is time to stop playing without warming up properly. I'm not even talking about warming up your fingers with things like scales or technical exercises, but literally the rest of your body, your neck, your shoulders, your hips even, do a lot of work when you're playing the harp for an extended period of time. So they need to be warmed up properly to get the proper blood flow so that they can support your hands and your fingers, and then you can play your best. It's really simple, it doesn't take much time, and all you need is some gentle movement at each of your joints before you sit down at your bench. If you want some more info on this, I actually made a whole video on this topic, so I'll be sure to link that below. Okay, so I'm gonna get a little harp teachery on you and tell you to stop skipping technique practice. I personally really love practicing technical exercises, but I know not everybody does. A lot of people just want to get to the music. I get it. But practicing technique is so important because that's the thing that actually lets you play those songs that you really want to get to. Technique is essentially the default that your hands and fingers fall into. And when you practice music, there is so much else to think about that it can be really tough to focus on technique. So by practicing technical exercises when there's no other distractions, all you have to think about is what your fingers are doing, you can really build a strong default for your hands to fall back on when you're playing music. And it's totally normal for your technique not to look as good when you're playing a song compared to when you're playing exercises. That's totally normal and totally okay, but any work that you do while you're practicing technique specifically will get carried over into the songs that you work on, even if it's not 100%, and that's totally okay. So please, 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 please practice some technique. Now the next habit to break is never, ever, ever tuning your harp. Listen, I get it, it takes forever and it's kind of a pain. What I usually tell my harp students is, as your harp teacher, I should say to tune your harp every single time you play, but realistically I know that there's not always time for that. I mean, I don't tune my harp every day either because it just takes a lot of time and I have other things to do. So if tuning is going to prevent you from practicing, I would rather you practice without tuning, but still try to tune your harp at least once a week. Honestly, if you're letting your harp go untuned for weeks and weeks on end, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're not training your ear, you're not going to sound very nice for anyone that's listening to you, and your harp will actually still probably not sound great when you do tune because your strings get really used to whatever position you leave them in for a long time. So even when you do tune, those strings are going to start drifting back to whatever shape they were in before right away. That's why they say that the more often you tune, the more your harp stays in tune. So let's tune a little more often, okay? The last habit I want you to stop this year is a mindset one. When you practice, try to notice how you think about yourself and your playing, and try not to think in absolute I statements. So things like, I'm terrible at this, I can't play this, I can't do this. This kind of thinking is so damaging because ultimately it makes you think that any quote-unquote bad playing is a reflection on you as a person and not just sort of an event that happened between your fingers and the strings. It doesn't leave any room for change or possibility, and it's just really demotivating. Take the phrase, I can't play this, as an example. Try to reframe that thought as an observation, something specific about what you just played. So that might look something like, I'm just not confident about what the notes are yet. Or this fingering always kind of trips me up. This brings focus away from you and your identity and actually helps you figure out what to do next in your practice, much more than, I can't do this. So if instead we think something like, I'm not confident with these notes yet, or this fingering trips me up, then we can think, okay, what can I do next in my practice to help me solve that problem? That might look like practicing slower, or just practicing placements without actually playing the strings. It gives you much more of a path forward than just, I can't, period. If nothing else, try adding the word yet or for now to some of these negative thoughts. I can't do this yet. I don't like how this sounds for now. It already gives more hope and motivation to keep trying. Changing the way you think about yourself and your playing is a pretty big topic, so check out this video next for more tips on how to stop hating your playing. And if you want some free harp tips, send straight to your email inbox. Sign up for my email newsletter. Link to sign up is in the description. See you next time, and happy harping.